Hello everyone and welcome back. So we have created this sim here and I'm gonna hit play and nothing is visible. So let's go back inside. Let's create a DOP import fields, and we can use a preset. I'm gonna just tell it to use smoke and drag this node, the network, and then I need to copy the sparse object, and that's my DOP object. And now we should see the data. So what we're doing now is we're simply importing data from within the sim, and we don't need velocity, we don't need rest data, we don't need CD, we don't have them. So this is all I need. I need temperature and density. And as we continue through this workshop, you guys will realize that the viewport I use makes things look a bit nicer, or actually a lot nicer than the normal viewport in that comes with Houdini by default. And the main reason for this is because I have ACES installed, and I'm gonna provide a video on how to install ACES. If you're curious about that, it's a LUT system for color correction, or for being able to render in a different color space, which is similar to the S-Log. This will expand our ability to render, and it will give us way more control over in compositing. And the main issue with the default viewport, it's clamped, and it's limited to display things between 0 and 1, and it generally looks pale like this. So this is the default if I didn't have the ACES workflow installed. And what I'm gonna do is I want to make this look as good as possible, and let me increase the sim a bit so we have more data to display and work with. And let's hit play. Okay, and I'm gonna use the volume viz node, volume visualization. I'm gonna say this is my density field, and this is my temperature field. Okay, I'm gonna set it to 1. The emission color field is also the temperature, and I'm gonna say I want to use a black body ramp, so it looks like fire basically. I'm gonna change this a bit. And I'm gonna change this as well. Cool, so this is my range, and then we have density and we have temperature being displayed. We don't have any lights in the scene, so I'm gonna go up and create a distant light, or a light, and it can be a point, can be whatever we want it to be. I'm gonna put a distant light and just use one light for now. That's all I needed. And I'm gonna go back inside and increase my density value. So just the viewport, this is not changing the density or anything. Okay, and I'm gonna go and increase the temperature field. You can see it's clamping very quickly, and this is the main issue with Houdini native viewport, or just rendering in sRGB. If I switch back to the ACES workflow, it's gonna look very different. So this is what it looks like in sRGB mode. And what we are able to do is we can render or display way more data. You can see by increasing the temperature to 10, these values are actually much higher than 1. Okay, and this is crucial to displaying the temperature field, because we don't want to be limited by 0 to 1. We don't want to be limited by that range. I can even go higher and it still looks good. If I go back to the raw and no ACES, you can see how terrible it is. So that it's very important to have this part. You can watch the separate video. I'll call it bonus ACES. It's from a different workshop, but it should cover everything needed for you guys to understand how to install this. We're gonna need it later anyway, so if you want to make nice viewport captures, you can install it now. Okay, let's go back. So we have a temperature field and that we're displaying, and we have a density field, and we can remap the temperature range. So instead of using 0 to 1, which is the default, I know that my temperature field, for example, goes between 0 to 1000. I can simply put that here. Now it's very important that you always have these two linked, because we want the color to be driven from exactly the same information as the temperature. Okay, so these ranges needs to be the same, but this is not obviously correct. So we're going to go back to 1, which is closer to what we have. I can even lower this because I know the temperature is very low, but we'll keep it for now. Let's go to 25. And this is our simple sim. And I don't know why it's doing this. Flat shaded. Cool. And I'm gonna hide everything. And this is our basic sim. So the next thing I want to do is I want to show you guys how you can display high quality sims. And I'm gonna increase the resolution even higher. So how much do we have here? I'm gonna increase this even more, just to have more data in the source, more resolution. I'm gonna increase this to 0.1 as well, and let's see what we get. It's gonna be slower, obviously. And let's wait. You can see this blue line here, and what's happening now is the sim is caching to memory. And it's gonna quickly start erasing this range, and the reason for that is because we hit the cap of how much memory this node can use. Okay, and I'm gonna show where this this limit is. You can see now it started erasing because just to keep this in memory, it's reaching the limit that it has. This limit can be found here. So under simulation, under cache, you see cache memory megabyte is 5000. When I sim for final, I set this to 496. 5000 is fine, and we don't want it to be 0. We don't want to turn off cache simulation. We want to have 5 gigabytes, 6 gigabytes, or whatever you have available at your machine. Obviously, the higher the more memory the sim is going to consume, but we want to give it a little bit of padding, a little bit of memory, a couple of gigabytes for it to breathe. We don't want it to turn off caching properly, because this actually speeds up the sim and gives us more accurate result. So at this frame we have a lot of voxels. We have 75 million voxels, and we are not seeing all of it properly in the viewport. So I'm going to turn off the temperature. And this is what the smoke looks like. Okay, even though it's very smooth, there is a lot of voxels in this sim. And to display everything in the viewport, we need to change this value to 1024. Okay, now this does not mean we are actually getting 1024, because there is a lock or another control for making sure that we're getting the best viewport we can. Now I'm going to show the NVIDIA. Let's watch. 1 second. NVIDIA SMI. So this is NVIDIA memory usage. Okay, I have a 2080 Ti. I have 10 gigabytes of memory, and currently we are at, not this one, we are at 600 megabytes. I'm gonna keep this on. I'm gonna press the D in the viewport and go under texture. You see this limit resolution? This is the gatekeeper. This is what's locking the viewport from displaying the 1024 resolution. And you have to be aware that if you unlock this, you will quickly fill the memory, and if you don't have a lot of GPU memory, then Houdini is going to crash or freeze. So I'm going to unlock it for now. I know this is fine to display. And then the other thing we want to do is full HDR. We want to display everything. We're going to pass all the data, raw data, to the OpenGL so we can get the best result. There's also HDR rendering under the scene setting. This is very, very crucial because we're going to be rendering 32 bits to display all the temperature data in the viewport and be able to do nice captures. We have to make sure that we're doing HDR rendering. Now these changes did not reflect in the viewport yet, and what we have to do is we have to either close it and open a new one. We can do this. We can go back and forth and look at this number 424 now. If I go back, it's 733, and now we're displaying, and you can see the resolution is higher. Okay, if I go back to 256, this is what we were looking for, somewhat what we were looking for. And then if I set this to 1024, then now we are directly telling it to display this. Going higher to 2048 does not make a difference. 1024, I find it to be enough to display everything the sim has, but again, we have to be very, very careful because it can easily eat the memory. And now it's 1800, and let's display the temperature, and now it's more because it's displaying a separate field. And let's change this to 10, 5. And that's how you get, that's how you display a sim in Houdini. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna turn this off. And by doing so, we are still seeing the old result. And if we have this off and we leave this to 0 or we turn it off, it actually goes with the highest resolution. So I'm going to turn this back on and leave it for now. So it's like a gatekeeper or a safety lock on the OpenGL so it doesn't crash. All right, so we imported the sim. We use the visualization. Again, this is not shading, not rendering or doing anything, just viewport, and we can use any light we want. So I generally do like a simple rim and fill, and I change this to have a blue color, and I lower the intensity to 0.3. So we have like a nice fill on the sim. And then I'm gonna go back again, put down a raw output, and I want to cache this to disk. So I'm going to cache it to where the file is located, sim, and I'm going to call this live because we're caching it live. And I'm going to call it quick or ring.v1, and I'm going to put the frame number .f, and I want to cache 50 or 60 frames. And this is fine for now. So I'm gonna hit save to disk, and then we'll continue in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in a bit. Bye bye.